Fellow tennis nerds, you know this guy by now, Adam, and in his hand is the ProKennex KI Black Ace Pro, which we're going to review today. He's going to talk about it a little bit. I'm going to fill in my comments a bit, and it's a kind of an interesting frame. The ProKennex, they're known for arm comfort, kinetic tech, where like you have micro beads in small chambers moving around towards the impact zone. In the Black Ace series, it's also ridiculously flexible. It's a very flexible frame. You kind of, if you know what the Clash is, then you probably will see some resemblance in this. But it still packs a little bit of a punch for a 97 square inch, which is becoming kind of a rare head size on the tour and on the rec market. Adam, right. What are your thoughts?
First of all, it's a beautiful racket. I think ProKennex have, really nailed this design. It's absolutely gorgeous in person, and it played really well too. This was actually one of the best rackets I've tested in a long time. Obviously, it's my type of racket. Thin beam, flexible, just a very smooth racket to use. But it actually gave me incredible amounts of power on my forehand and serve. And I think it was just because of the confidence it gave me to swing fully out, basically, on all my shots. Because of the thin beam, it just slices through the air, and it's whippy mainly because it's a thin beam, very maneuverable weight. The swing weight was absolutely perfect, no modifications were needed, and I was hitting some of the biggest forehands I've hit, even for a 98 square inch racket, and this was 97.
To give you a little bit of the specs here, we can see it on the side. 97, as we said, 16-19, not super open, but it's definitely a 16-19, 32 centimeter balance. 305 grams, pretty lightweight. It could have a little bit more weight probably. You could add definitely one more overgrip or a leather grip or tweak it a bit. The swing weight, as on many ProKennex rackets, is quite high. It's like close to 330, 330-ish, depending on the string. And I like that. I think you need that in this racket. That helps the power. If you go lower in swing weight, because you would still find it's pretty whippy, right? Like it's a pretty whippy racket.
It was very whippy.
Yeah.
I was able to step into the court and hit some, very whippy approach shots, which, I didn't expect to be able to do, but it was no problem.
Yeah.
It just came natural. It felt old school prestige, which is the feel that many people allude to when, you talk about what's the best type of racket for feel, and this is it. They really delivered, and not only that, it's extremely powerful. I was able to get a lot of power once I hit the sweet spot, which actually was pretty generous. Maybe on the backhand, if you don't catch it clean, you'll maybe drop some short, but that's not a problem as long as you feel the response from the racket. You know what you're doing wrong. And this tells you a lot of information on every shot that you hit. Yeah,
it's an excellent frame actually. I compared it a bit to a PT57A on steroids first, because it has that long dwell time, stays a long time on the strings. If you don't like that, if you like a rapid response, it's not for you. And it's very arm friendly, so you don't have to worry about your arm. Its sweet spot is generous for what it is, but it doesn't really give you a lot of forgiveness outside the center, which is kind of also what other 97 square inch rackets. You have a smaller sweet spot generally, of course, but pretty forgiving. I noticed when you were serving, you could really smack the serve. I think I've never seen you serve this well with a racket that you tested from my stack at least. And so the serve +1, you were dominating serve and forehands, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it just gave me confidence to hit out as hard as I could basically on the serve and forehand, and it was very comfortable while doing so. So that became sort of the pattern that I was looking for, trying to set up for a forehand. And, it felt like a slingshot, it dwells on the string bed, sinks into the racket, and then it just launches back out, which was a great thing for your serve and my forehand. Maybe not so good for my volleys. I felt like it was, it just sunk into the strings a little too much, and then kind of had a mind of its own at net, but that could be user error, but I think the trade-off is well worth it for the feeling, for the serve and forehand. And honestly, every ground stroke felt incredible. Slice was challenging at first because it's just a different feeling racket, so you do have to get used to it. But it was one of the most fun tests I've had recently.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the volleys, something I struggle with unless you really stabbed it, right? You really need to get in front and be on top of the volley. If you try to just caress it, it had a little bit of a erratic response, it maybe flexed too much the racket. It would have been interesting to play this racket with a 60 stiffness instead of the 57 RA. Maybe that would have taken out some of the magic that you get as well, because you get a lot of like trampolining that is still controlled from a 97 square inch, so you could actually generate good pop, forehand, and serving I think was my favorite as well with this racket. Like serving, brilliant. Slice is a little floaty, unless you contact it perfectly. So that could be something to think about. Maybe something you can dial in with strings, but this is on my 3rd string setup. I have not tried gut hybrid or like multi-hybrid. Maybe could be cool in this to, you know, get a bit of a different feel, maybe a little bit crisper feel on volleys and so on. So definitely a racket that, like, if you're not afraid of a 97 in terms of sweet spot and so on, like you should try this. It's like a very arm-friendly, fun racket. You might fall in love if you're open to the flex, right?
It would make me happy to see people go out, try this and buy it, because ProKennex has done a great job. They've been around for a while, and I've never played with ProKennex, but I've always, you know, been curious about what they do. They do make really quality sticks, and again, well done for them. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, great racket and well played by Adam. I think they've done a great job. Cosmetic looks very nice. Maybe they could have sent the Racket Sense thumbprint there. I can show you. If this is your only like big gripe with a racket, it's not too bad.
That's the only thing.
That's nitpicking. And of course, maybe like it would be interesting to try a little bit firmer. Would maybe be something I would tweak to. But yeah, it's one of the most fun rackets I think Adam and I both tested. And Adam has tested quite a few rackets with me over the last few weeks.
No question.
This one is high on the list of good sticks for sure. And kudos to them for being a smaller brand still, but they have a lot of experience in the industry, and you can see it with their arm-friendly tech as well, because I think arm friendliness is what we many of us need.
Exactly.
Right? Cool. Thanks, Adam.